When you start any business, if you are anything like me, I'm always looking for what is the cash flow that's going to come through this particular deal. And in property investing, it's exactly the same way because property investing is a business. And if you don't handle your rental income like a business, if there's one thing I've learned over time, that could be a point that will pull your property business down. I remember there was even a song that said it's not about the what, it's about the cash flow. How would we get to a cash flow that we are looking for in a rental property? Welcome to my channel. My name is Genevieve Stafford Jack. I call this the numbers for success, learning the art of knowing your numbers. What would your numbers be in this quick running of numbers to get to your cash flow? You would want to know rental income, the money that I'm getting in a monthly basis, minus operating expenses, meaning what different expenditure do I have to give out for this particular property? And that, when you've done that calculation, equals your cash flow. So I want to hear from you very quickly down in the comments. What do you think is your operating expenses on any property that comes to mind? Yes, I would love to hear from you. What do you think are the operating expenses? And while you type that, let's just go on to figure out, how do I figure out how much rent am I going to charge for this particular property of mine? At this given point, I want you to know that you need to do market research. Your market research could roll out to look anything like the following. You could go into Property 24, you go to rent, and then you type out the area that you're interested in. And when it goes to property type, you select house, apartment, flat, and you keep moving. When you get into the results that Property 24 is going to give you, it's then going to share with you, you know what, the area that you are interested in, everybody in this area for this type of property is asking for X amount. In our wonderful example, let's go with a 2-bed, 1-bath, and it's going for 5,000 Rand. But you'll start finding there's slight discrepancies because not every 2-bed, 1-bath is made the same. What do I mean by that? Sometimes there could be a unique feature about your particular property. And it could look something like 2-bed, 1-bath, and a single garage. Now, if you are letting out to a family or to whichever tenant it's going to be that has a motor vehicle, they will more than likely opt for your property, and they wouldn't mind paying potentially an extra 200 Rand more if on market value everybody else is asking for 5,000. Because really, if we have to match apples with apples, your property, say, is 65 square meters and everybody else's property is 65 square meters, so it stands to reason that your 2-bed, 1-bath will bring in that 5,000 Rand. But if you have got a parking space, how much more wouldn't somebody be interested in paying for you for that particular parking space? So could you say you've got an apartment for 5,200 Rand, and then you note 2-bed, 1-bath, and garage? Because again, with somebody that has a motor vehicle may say, that is what I'm looking for, so I wouldn't mind paying the extra 200 knowing that my car is in a garage. So when you go into market research, you need to compare apples with apples. If your apartment is 65 square meters and apartments in the area are also 65 square meters, you need to have a like for like. So this is how you'd be able to figure out and establish what you can charge for your rent. The second component, going back to the answers you gave me in the comments below, what are operating expenses? Your operating expenses could look like levies, rates and taxes, electricity, and so forth, and all those wonderful things I know you typed down in the comments below. We want to understand while renting out our property that we rent it out smart. And here's the difference between you and everybody else that is a landlord in the area where you've got a property. Firstly, you would have bought the property under market value. So everybody else in the area could have potentially paid 500,000 for this property. But you, because you're a smart property investor, you use smart ways to find property that is below market value. And you could have gotten that property for 300,000, which then means if you financed that property via the bank has given you a bond for 300,000 for that particular property. So that means when you're getting your 5,200 rent, the 3,000 is going for the bank, but there's that magical number in between that's covering your operating expenses that will give you the cash flow that you're looking for. Oftentimes, what we're going to find is in your normal or in your everyday way of actually investing in property. So if others that are landlords around you bought their property for 500,000, they're charging a rent for 500,000, they are taking money out of their pocket to pay for the operating expenses of that particular property. However, you being a smart property investor, you found a property under market value. So your financing cost, which is your bond, or whichever way you've got the money to buy the property, when the rent comes in, you'll be potentially paying 3,000 Rand towards how you finance that property. And then you've got this 2,200 Rand left, which is not cash flow. It then goes and covers your operating expenses so that at the end of that, you can stand and say, like many of us want to, do you know what? That tenant is paying for my property. Because I'd gone through a scenario where I bought a 2-bed, 1-bath. However, my tenant was giving me the rent, I paid the bond, and a very little bit of that money went for levies, and I had to subsidize year in, year out. And you know what? I was not making money as a property investor should. However, fortunately, on this side of property investing, it looks a whole lot different. And if this quick calculation really just ticked your boxes, what I did is I created a video just with you in mind, where I've gone through a deal calculator and I've literally explained what you need in order to buy a property. Make sure that before you even buy the property is going to give you money. And even so, when the property does give you money, if your first strategy of renting doesn't work, how could you re-engineer your renting strategy to literally give you more money? I've gone ahead and created this particular video with you in mind because I know you want to shoot the lights out from the beginning of your property investing journey. So I trust that you enjoy this particular video, and I would love to hear from you what you thought of that, and does that work for you?